Hey, welcome back to Off the Grid. Today we're going to show you how to build a cabin without using any screws. Well, maybe a few screws. All you need is wood like this, which is a 2x6 tongue and groove. Now, T&G tongue and groove lumber like this, you can see it's got a ridge on the top and a notch on the bottom. That means you can stack them, one on top of the other, using the groove and the slot to lock the pieces together. And if you properly notch the other side, you can lay a cross piece in between each one and build yourself a house. Sort of like those Lincoln logs that old farts like me used to play with when we were growing up. Now, if you prepare your site properly, you can build a cabin using this material in about a day and a half. That includes the roof. But you got to do the site prep first. Now, today we're going to show you how we did that, how we built 4 different cabins using this technique. So let's get started. We built the first 3 cabins back in 2006 on our rock in British Columbia. All 3 cabins have the same footprint, about 12 feet by 10 feet. Now in this photo you can see one of them. It's the green roof in the woods. That's the same one on the far left in this photo, and it serves as our bathhouse. It's got a shower, composting toilet, and sink. The other 2 cabins are for sleeping. They have beds, propane heaters, and 100 square foot decks. Our second off-grid property is out in the woods in California's Siskiyou Mountains. Here we built our 4th cabin in 2015. It has a slightly larger footprint, about 16 feet by 12 feet. Now, the first step in building one of these things is picking a good site. That's Michael pointing the way. He and his wife Paula own the company that makes these cabins. In the Siskiyous, we found a meadow, created gravel pads, and laid 2x8 stringers bolted together on top of X blocks. In Canada, we had to clear trees and use a transit to set forms, and then place our stringers on top of the poured concrete. These stringers are what the floors of each cabin rest upon, and they need to be perfectly level, side to side and front to back. The next step was a little more complicated. Cabin materials arrived on a trailer, but we, of course, live on an island, which means a lot of trips in a small boat. But Paula tracked down a helicopter pilot working in the area, and for a case of beer and a tank of avgas, he agreed to airlift our cabin pieces from a nearby hillside to our rock. That's it in the background photo here. He dropped a cable and a hook. We bundled the lumber, and away it went. 3 trips, and we were done, and ready to start sorting the pieces and building our cabins. In the Siskiyous, we had a different problem. A river that's usually only crossable by gondola. So we waited for low water when we could drive across and brought Michael's trailer across with it. With material on site, it's time to assemble the pieces, beginning with the floor joists. These joists will rest on the stringers. And yeah, you need a few screws for this part. And for the OSB flooring that goes on top of the floor joists. But once that's complete, it's just a matter of laying down the tongue and groove lumber and fitting it all together. If you need an interior wall, for the bathhouse in this case, you just put another notch in the wood and set it in the rotation and continue building up. Windows and doors are pre-hung and slide into pre-cut spaces. Again, slide them in and continue building the walls. Roof trusses at each end are made of the same 2x6 material, and they drop into place. And rafters slide into slots cut into these trusses. Painting starts once the walls are up, even before the roof is on. We used Sikkens butternut stain on all 3 Canadian cabins and a Behr solid stain on the Siskiyou property. With the shell complete, tar paper and metal roofing is screwed into place, and by noon of the second day, we're just about finished. Now, because our cabin in the States is somewhat larger, the roof was constructed differently, with a couple of 2x10s as ridge beams. with rafters running from the ridge beams down to the sides of the cabin. Lath was then placed across the rafters, and tar paper and metal roofing fastened in place. With the cabins buttoned up, we had time to add things like a fireplace, a deck, a toilet, and a sink. And with some laminate flooring to finish it all off, and some furniture, the finished cabins look pretty slick. Our thanks to Michael and Paula of Bavarian Leisure Cottages and Kamloops for help with the design, labor, and helicopter procurement. The only adjustment we made was to add cable tie-downs to the corners of each cabin to hold the roof on in high winds. Now, as you can see, a cabin built this way has a common interior and exterior wall, so there's no room for insulation, except in the roof and under the floor joists. But with a fireplace or a propane heater, all our cabins stay comfortable, even during a snowstorm. Thanks for watching. Check the written narrative for details, and we'll see you on our next trip.